his face in the sand. Not the last mafioso, I'm an MC cop. Make it say, yo, LL and do the wop. If you think you cannot ride me, yeah, boy, I bet. Cause I ain't met a motherfucker. Trendsetter, I'm better. My rhymes are good. I gotta go name plate.
My name is Gary Chandler, better known as DJ Gary Chandler, and known as Detroit's Badboy also. My DJing goes back probably 84, 80, 86. The first time I had ever heard a DJ, my cousin Tracy Maxwell had a cassette tape, and Kevin Dicehard was the first DJ I had ever heard. And I remember listening to the tape with her, and he had So Rough, So Tough playing by Roger. So he was going back and forth, so rough, so tough out here. And that was the first time I had ever heard a DJ in that capacity, you know, just, you know, for a long length of time on a cassette, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow, this is cool. So I have a childhood friend, his name is Perry Thompson. Perry and my other friend Kyle were DJing, and they were doing it for maybe about 6 or 7 months. I would go down there with them and just watch them. So Perry, he was going out of town. So I said, Perry, let me keep your turntables while you go out of town. So he said, okay, no problem. So Perry had, and I think they were Techniques B100s back then, straight arms, belt drives, oh my God. No, no way to control everything like you wanted to, but he loaned them to me for 2 weeks. Came back out of town and came over to my house, and I said, man, check this out. First record I had was Renegades of Funk, and I'm like, no matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. And he looked at me, he said, hold up. He said, you learned all of that in 2 weeks. I said, yeah, I've been working with it for 2 weeks. I've been in the house learning. He said, I'm done with it. He said, you can buy my turntables.
I guess nowadays you have a lot of people whose idea of showmanship behind the turntables is this, throwing the hands up in the air or posing with knobs. And Gary's style is not so much what he's doing visually, what you're looking at, but it's what you're hearing. And what you're hearing come through those speakers is the result of a lot of practice, natural talent, and creativity. And Gary just takes things to another level.
Sure. You're
not going to go to a Gary Chandler show and just hear the same records played the same ways that you've heard other DJs playing.
Correct.
He puts his spin on things, and it's always exciting.
As I went on, I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. And at the point of knowing that I wanted to be a DJ, I had moved from my first neighborhood into my second neighborhood, which is, I stayed on 7 Mile in Harlow. And I used to go by a young man's house by the name of Mr. Mike Huckabee. And Mike used to hang out with a guy named Eric Sims. And these guys had Techniques before I had them. So Mike was kind enough to let me in his house, show me what was going on with it. And between Mike Huckabee and I would say Eric Sims, I got introduced to progressive, which is house all the time, but it was always called progressive.
I couldn't put Gary in a certain category because he was doing mainstream parties where he's playing, you know, hip hop, R&B, etc.
Right.
But he's also doing guest appearances on house music nights, right? So he has house sets that he will play. And then he does ghetto tech, techno. So he's always you can catch a piece of Gary in different genres, right? So he wasn't just Gary only plays this one type of music.
Right.
Gary did cabarets back in the day. He spun at a club called the Prima Donna. I used to hear about that because that's kind of a little bit before our time.
Yeah, I heard about that.
But he simply had a legendary status. It seemed like from day one. Because I don't remember a time where it's, well, Gary Chandler, this little guy kind of coming up. It was always, that's Gary Chandler. Specifically, Gary motherfucking Chandler, right?
It hasn't changed.
The thing that I probably should have done a long time ago, which this year is I'm going to be my first year making records. And as far as the way that I started and how I did everything, and would I do anything different? Nah, because I wouldn't be me. And you gotta think, I've been, on the radio from 91 to 2002 at JLB, and from 2005 till presently. I just left 107.5. I've been on there for 15 years. So I've had over 26, almost 30 years in radio. It's time for the next chapter. It's time for these records. It's time for the production. And I wouldn't change anything that I've done because I'm not done doing what I do.
Thank you. Good. Perfect.
Is that good? Oh, I'm not done. Trust me.